Welcome back to the channel, you kooks. Are you here because you want to save some money on building your van? You're not sure if you can afford it during these times. We're going to show you all the steps along the way that we took to save money on this van build to make it the most affordable van build possible. Stay tuned, guys. Before we get into the savings, make sure to pop open another window on Vankookz.com where we have a plethora of resources on all things van life. All right, guys, so step one is having a van. Obviously, in van life, you need a van. So we've stuck to mostly Craigslist and Facebook for finding vans, but we've known a lot of people that have just kept their eye out of their neighbors and their family that have a van that maybe they're interested in and can buy it off of them for a good price. We had been keeping our eyes out on Craigslist, and when we found a van that was within our price range, it was a VW. We liked it because they're easy to maintain. A lot of people that have VWs do their own maintenance, so you learn a lot as a mechanic. So we chose the VW because it does have a big community supporting it, with lots of information online that you can do your work yourself if you wanted. So that's what we went with. You can choose any type of van within your price range, but just keep in mind that if the van needs work, that'll also become a part of your budget. And the next step is finding a place to build. So to keep this in a budget, if you have like your dad's garage that has a lot of tools, or if you can go to a workspace that also has a lot of tools, or if you know a friend that'll let you borrow tools. We know a lot of people where their neighbors have let them borrow every tool that they need to build their van. That'll save you a lot of money up front in not purchasing tools. So be resourceful and find tools wherever you can find them with some of your friends and family. We were able to build this van out of my dad's garage, which doesn't have all the tools in the shed, but it has most of them. So we were able to do most of what we wanted to do and get creative with figuring out how to build with the limited resources that we had.
So now we're going to get into the parts you need for your van. That's going to be like your electrical system, your solar panels and all that. You're actually going to be able to save a lot of money. Van parts have come a long way in the past few years, and a lot of this stuff is much cheaper now than it ever was. You'll want to narrow it down to exactly what you need. Some people will go overboard on this part, and you just need to think through what you'll need, the bare essentials if you're going for the lower budget. But you know, as your needs kind of go up, your money is going to kind of increase. The first major expense in your van is going to be your electrical system. And for the electrical system, you're going to need to decide what you need to power and how much power you're going to need. This van, we knew we wanted a fridge, and we knew we wanted to plug in our laptops and a blender, so we knew we would need a power inverter. With that being said, we went with a very simple, cheap 200 amp hour marine battery, and we went with a basic charge controller, a flexible monocrystalline solar panel, as well as an off-brand inverter. And I would take advantage of the off-brand stuff because it's actually really legit. We used it all in this van and we had no problems at all with it. We also went with more budget lighting. So we used LED strips and little LED puck lights, and we used all the off-brands there. And then we all had to go into one central switch panel, which cut cost as well. And it uses less wiring to wire it this way, so that also helped us cut costs as well on the electrical. So anything you can do to cut costs. Maybe you don't need an inverter, maybe you don't plug in your laptop or need a blender, and maybe you don't need a fridge and you would need a smaller battery bank. Another important factor to consider with your van is, do you want climate control? Do you need a fan, and do you need a heater? In this van, we opted out of the fan because it took up roof space for our roof box and our surfboard, and we had plenty of windows that slid open. So if you have windows and stuff, you could probably get away without buying a roof fan. But as far as the heater goes, that's solely up to you. If you're in a colder environment, you're probably going to want a heater. There's tons of cheap heaters on the market now. There's actually some Chinese diesel heaters we've heard great things about. So we'll link those as well. And you can always go with the tried and true Mr. Buddy heater. And they do a great job in the small vans. And if you're using the Mr. Buddy heater, always remember to have some ventilation in your van. So the next largest expense in your van will be a fridge. And a fridge is something that is up to you whether you want it or not. The fridge can provide a easy solution for full-time van lifers that don't want to be essentially bobbing for apples in their cooler every time they need something and replacing ice. So a powered fridge definitely makes your van life easier. It is more expensive to get a powered fridge, so if maybe it's not in your budget, you can start off with some of those newer, more heavy-duty coolers. I'll have a link in the description for all the stuff I'm talking about, but really with the fridge, it's up to you. You can save up to about $500 or more not doing the fridge. So I would recommend a fridge because it streamlines van life and everything's cold. We know a lot of other van lifers who have actually upgraded to a fridge because they were just so sick of dealing with the daily cooler routine. And honestly, you don't think it's that big of a deal, but when you're thinking that your everyday life consists of changing ice and like ruining your food because it's all melted, you'll actually really be happy you got a cooler if you do pull the trigger. So we recommend the Dometic CF18 for smaller vans like ours, and we'll have a few other links in our description.
Next thing up would be a toilet. Some people choose to have a toilet, some people choose not to have a toilet. Just make sure to have your shovel. So if you choose the shovel, that's the cheapest option. If you would like to move on to an actual toilet in your van, there are plenty of options, starting with a bucket and a bag. A lot of van lifers do that, where they just throw their bag out whenever they need to go. A pee jug is another thing that van lifers use. Those are the cheapest. The next thing would be a cartridge toilet, and those are real small and compact, and I know a lot of van lifers use those for emergencies when they can't find a public bathroom, but a lot rely on public bathrooms. And the next thing would be a composting toilet. So there are many on the market. We love the Sea Head and we love the Nature's Head. So while those take up a lot of space, you'll want to keep that in mind if you did get a smaller van. Where are you going to put these composting toilets? The Sea Head makes a smaller one, so you might want to look into that if you're trying to keep it small and contained. And the next thing would be the other part of your restroom, your shower. So some people in their vans really think that they need a shower, but there are options. For $20 a month, you can get a black card at Planet Fitness and do your showers that way. You can create a DIY, which we've already done here. We'll link that here somewhere. For that, you just create your own PVC pipe outside of the vehicle that's black, and it heats up by the sun so that you can take a nice warm shower outside. Or you could do a pressurized shower that's already pre-built, like the water port. We've already done a review on that, and you can get those from Costco, or you can get them from Amazon if you're not a Costco member. It's totally up to you to have one of these showers. We do not have a shower, but we do have the water port, and we find it great for not only taking showers, but also washing our dishes. So also keep that in mind. You can keep washing your dishes outside of your vehicle and keep that gross water outside of your vehicle. Now that you got the components and the most expensive part of the build out of the way, it's time to move on to the build. And here you can save a lot of money on the build as well, as long as you recycle, reduce, and reuse.
We were able to save tons of money because Danny's neighbor was basically redoing their fence in their backyard, and we noticed that we could use this wood, and we sanded it, we resurfaced it, and we put it in the floors, and we also used some of the fence posts as sidings for our cabinets, and it gave it this nice rustic look. It was free, we just had to put in some time.
Another thing that I had found was we reused this old like 1970s pot as the sink. So sinks can actually be a surprisingly good amount of money. It's really surprising how much they can be. So we saved a bunch of money there.
Yeah, we also just used 2x4s for the cabinet framings, and we didn't put any doors and drawers and hardware on that, so that actually adds up. And you can always go back in and add that stuff later as long as you square your cabinets.
Great point.
Yeah, so we saved money too. The VW had a bed built in. It was a VW Weekender, I think they call it, and the bed hinged and it did a rock and roll. So we just resurfaced the mattress, Danny's Soda mattress, and that saved us quite a few dollars. We also saved money on the foam board insulation. We don't love the foam board insulation. It was fairly messy. The Thinsulate a better product. It is more expensive, So when you're cutting costs, you might have to use a product like the foam board. We also used, and we really like using this in the vans, is the tongue and groove pine. And we stained it, and Danny had a great idea on the stain.
Yeah, so another way to save money on the stains is to use natural stains like beet powder or turmeric powder. And also, steel wool and vinegar creates a nice shabby chic look as well.
Yeah, so we've stained that, and the tongue and groove is cheap, and we didn't do the ceiling. It was in really good shape, so we left it. So we saved money on material by leaving the ceiling normal.
Also on the countertop, we got a faux butcher block from the cabinet making area in Home Depot or Lowe's. It's already pre-made. It looks like a butcher block, but it's thinner. So it's a lot cheaper than an actual butcher block.
Yeah, when we saved money on basically anything we could. We just resourced it from here in the garage. We bought the nice looking plywood at Lowe's that is a little bit cheaper, but it has a nice look once you stain it. And yeah, in the end, I mean, it turned out really good. It looks, as you can see, it looks great, and we really love this little van. And the last thing we will note that you should totally take advantage of is basically any resource out there that you can take advantage of. There's maker spaces that you can go to and pay to use their shop. There's pawn shops. We found our rocket box at the pawn shop. We also went to an REI garage sale, and we found our roof rails. So we got most of the stuff that we found for cheap. We found the bike rack in the storage unit at Danny's parents' house. So we just maximize all the resources, family, friends. We got some scrap wood from some friends even, and yeah, you can make it come together with what you have. You would be amazed at what you can do with little money. I mean, other than components, the build part is actually pretty cheap.
Yeah, guys, really work on never paying full price. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you did like this van and you wanted to replicate it yourself, we did make a series on how we built this in 2 weeks. And I know a lot of people have taken advantage of this and built their own, and it's so awesome to see you guys out there on the road, on your Instagram, seeing you using it. So make sure you use all the resources that we've mentioned. And also another resource that we mentioned, but we'll mention again, is Vankookz.com. We also teach you in a blog, if you like reading, how to build this van. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, please give it a like and a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. Subscribe if you like, and tell your friends. Tell your friends that you know that want to get into van life, but just don't think that they can afford it, because they can. All right, Kookz, thank you guys so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.